Alright guys, so next up I'm going to be going over a rope cable crunch. So the rope cable crunch, the purpose of this exercise is to basically train your core or your abs, the rectus abdominis if you want the fancy term for it. And when we're training our core, we want to think about, or when we're training any muscle, we want to think about what the actual role of the muscle is. When it comes to your kind of midsection or your rectus abdominis, it's to basically flex the spine. So it's to take your back from being arched to then being bent, if that makes sense. Like the opposite of what we kind of want during a deadlift. So when we are doing this, we're trying to get as much bend in our back as possible. We're not just wanting to move at the hips. And when we're setting up the rope cable crunch, we want the rope set to the top of the cable stack. From there, we want to kneel not directly underneath it, but a bit behind it, just so we've got tension in that stretch position. And as you'll see here, something you can actually do is you can put a plate on the back of your legs to help you be a bit more stable as weight gets heavier. And what that will basically mean is the weight won't kind of shift you and kind of lift you up as you get stronger on this movement. And as well as that, it means you can kind of lean forward a bit without falling forward when you're performing the exercise, if that makes sense. So I'll show you a quick demonstration of how to set up and perform it. So you want to also make sure like your setup standardized, so you're basically kneeling like a similar distance from the cable stack each time, so it's comparable and it's easy to measure progress. So here, as you can see, plate on the back of my leg to keep me stable. You don't need to do this, but if you feel like it's warranted, then feel free to. And from there, you want to hold the rope. And what we're thinking about is getting as much bend in our back as possible, so driving your chest towards your hips. And when you do so, exhale, slowly lower, and repeat that process. And what we don't want to do here is have excessive movement in the hips, because again, what we're trying to do is get as much bend in the spine as possible, not just move forward and back at the hips. So what we want is we want our hips situated over our knees at all times and just focus on curling into a ball. And a cue that helps me make sure I'm not using my hip flexors and moving my hips is as I'm crunching, focusing on almost driving my hips forward. And then, like I said, make sure you're controlling the change of direction.
Thanks very much for watching. The full video is exclusively available to my online coaching and personal training clients. If you are interested in personal training or online coaching, feel free to inquire via the link in my bio, or simply drop me a message on any of my social media platforms, or give me an email for more information.